Hey everyone, this is Darrie from Method. Feeling a little under the weather this week, but I wasn't going to let a cold stop me from bringing you Mittbitt's top 6 DPS tips for Mythic Plus dungeons. There's a lot that goes into pre-dungeon prep. Ensuring that you have what you need for the run in terms of consumables, an effective team comp, planning your route, and knowing where it's okay to use battle reses and big cooldowns. Consumables play an important role in Mythic Plus, and they fill their own unique demand. Examples of useful consumables are Failure Detection Pylon, Auto Hammer, Skystep Potion, Invisibility Potions, Avalanche Elixir, and Drums of Fury or Drums of the Mountain. The utility that these provide can be necessary to completing challenging keys in time. An effective team composition is one that allows you to utilize present classes and roles to take advantage of dungeon-specific mechanics and strategies. Some dungeons demand certain abilities to make use of skips and time-saving strategies. For example, if you plan on using the boat skip in Eye of Ishara, this demands a druid, shaman, hunter, warrior, or demon hunter to be able to make the necessary jump. In other situations, you're able to substitute classes for consumables. An example of this is skipping the Nightwatch Mariner in Maw of Souls by running through the mob and dying on a Failure Detection Pylon. There are other ways to do this strategy, however, this is one way to approach it with any comp. Planning your route revolves around class and group limitations, dungeon affixes, and strategies. You should make sure your team is clear on the route that you'll be taking before starting the dungeon. A proper route and kill count management helps save time fighting unnecessary mobs and avoiding confusion with your group mid-dungeon. Each dungeon has its own skips and routes to effectively acquire mob count, so it's necessary to know which strategies are viable for your group. An example of this is Darkheart Thicket. If your group will not be skipping the trash in the tree leading up to Shade, you should avoid pulling some of the mobs toward the beginning of the dungeon, because otherwise you'll exceed kill count, thus wasting a large amount of time. Affixes can come into play when they affect the difficulty of packs or bosses to a degree that dictates cooldown management. For example, in Court of Stars on Fortified weeks, it's recommended that your group kills the dock pull with Lust before heading to the first boss. However, on Tyrannical weeks, it's recommended to go straight for the boss and use major cooldowns on him because the affix makes him more difficult. The cooldown on battle reses is long and shared between the group, so it's crucial to only use them when they're the most effective. It can be helpful to learn respawn locations throughout dungeons in order to learn when it's okay to release or anticipate a battle res. There are dungeons, such as Lower Karazhan, which contain bosses like Morose that are more challenging and often include deaths, so battle reses should be saved in anticipation of these deaths. Bloodlust is an important cooldown to track throughout dungeons, as it makes certain bosses or trash pulls significantly easier. Effective Lust timing ensures that you'll have it available whenever necessary and as often as possible. The same can be said for all major cooldowns, so it's important to plan where to use your cooldowns to ensure quick and clean execution of bosses or big trash pulls. Before you start pushing high keys, you must first learn to optimize your character. Taking the time to properly optimize will boost your performance and allow you to assist your team much better. Optimization of your character includes talent choices, stat priority, and gear. Balancing all three will help you enhance your performance. Talent choices play a vital role in your performance throughout keys, ranging from utility to maximum DPS. Certain talents add much needed utility to the group, while others optimize your performance. Catering your talents to your group composition and planned route will benefit you and your team by saving time and ensuring that pulls go smoothly. Practicing with certain talents allows you to determine which talents work best for specific pulls or strategies. Stat priority has a great deal to do with properly gearing in Mythic Plus. Researching the correct stat priority for Mythic Plus is highly recommended for your class, and additionally, running simulations for your character is a great way to discover your best stats in any given situation and stay up to date with them as you collect new gear. Simming isn't always 100% accurate, as it's based on ideal conditions, which aren't often present, but it can give you a great view of your possibilities. To obtain a higher quality representation of real situations, sim your character multiple times with different sim settings. Pushing high keys will require a variety of gear. Ideally, you should accumulate gear that you think may be useful. Different pools may require different gear, and depending on your specialization, you'll need to orient the types of gear that you bring towards different purposes. It's likely that you'll need many pre-saved sets, and be able to switch them between pulls to optimize your performance and save time. An example of this is a trash versus boss set that heavily favors one stat to increase your damage depending on what you need. Tertiary stats can be extremely useful in niche situations, such as requiring extra survivability from avoidance or leech, or needing a speed set to quickly move through the dungeon. Add-ons are extremely useful in high keys because they provide information and assist you in managing and narrowing down necessary events. You should obtain add-ons that have all the information you're looking for and are customizable to suit your needs. One of the most essential add-ons you can pick up is WeakAura's 2. WeakAura's allows you to add custom UI enhancements to tailor to your own needs. Examples of this are adding extra timers, notifications for abilities, and trackers for essential mechanics for team coordination purposes. You can click below to see all of the add-ons and WeakAura's that Mittbitt recommends. Practicing with the same team gives a sense of familiarity with progression into higher keys. This allows you to skip some verbal communication in cases and know what is needed of you without being asked. One of the most effective ways to improve communication is by eliminating extra chatter that can impede necessary callouts. It is important to listen to calls, but give feedback when necessary. Make sure you establish your needs and make them known before charging into a boss with full offensive gear. Restrain from being emotional and critical with your teammates, as everyone should be trying to improve as a whole. Proper communication allows you to pick up slack where your teammates are limited by their classes. An example of this is Naltira in the Archway, where some classes have high mobility with a short cooldown, allowing them to break tangled webs, while other classes are limited on mobility. Most fortified weeks allow you to push keys at a high difficulty. However, some affixes may be more annoying than others. Most Tier 1 and Tier 2 affixes allow you to push at a competitive level. Some classes and group comps will fall short for some Tier 1 and Tier 2 affixes. However, all are manageable with the correct preparation. Affixes can completely change your usual strats for dungeons by adjusting your priorities. Some affixes require more coordination, while others are more individually focused. For example, Sanguine requires frequent mob control and movement, where Necrotic is mostly tank-oriented. However, smart talent choices can definitely help your tank during Necrotic weeks. Throughout your experiences in Mythic Plus, pay attention to your successes and failures. Try to build upon those successes and take new approaches to failures. If, for example, your route failed, you would want to plan a new route or revise the previous one to make adjustments for the future. It's important to test a multitude of gear sets before coming to the conclusion that there's only one effective option in any given scenario. If a gear set does not work, try other approaches to the situation and always include your team in the adjustments you make. Consistently keeping the same teammates allows you to isolate variables in your testing of different options of gearing and strats. Remaining with the same team also improves your communication and coordination, rather than having to adjust strats every week with a new team. Everyone has their own stance on affixes, and practicing allows you to get a better idea of how to handle them. Practice frequently so you don't lose team synergy and dungeon awareness. That's it for our top 6 DPS tips. On behalf of Mittbitt and Wowhead, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. We'll see you again next week with more Mythic Plus dungeon tips.